For perspective on today's developments at the Supreme Court and in Arizona, we're joined now by Planned Parenthood President Alexis McGill Johnson. Alexis, thanks so much for joining us. In Rachel's report there, we just heard that exchange between Justice Barrett and the lawyer for Idaho questioning when an emergency abortion may be permissible under the law. What are you hearing from doctors and from pregnant women who are navigating these issues?
I mean, alarm and shock and confusion, right? Just as ironically, Justice Amy Coney Barrett has also expressed, right, that this case is about whether or not Idaho can prevent hospital providers from providing abortions in emergent situations, right? Patients who are having these complications that might suffer and die. And the idea that Idaho is already sending patients by airlift out of state, already creating situations that will further complicate their life, their pregnancy, or their organs, or, future fertility. That suggests that EMTALA is not in effect right now in Idaho, that they are refusing to allow for basic, decent emergency care. And that people are shocked that the expectation that you can go into an emergency room and get emergent care that is life-saving and stabilizing is not being respected.
Idaho is one of more than a dozen states with strict bans with limited exceptions. What will be the implications of the court's ruling on this matter?
Well, a ruling not only would further endanger the patients and providers who would like to be making decisions to save lives in Idaho, but we could see this same behavior have a ripple effect to, about a dozen states. And so, I think what we're already seeing now is that abortion bans have made pregnancy much more dangerous. They have criminalized miscarriage and providers also in that process. And so I think that we will continue to see these draconian efforts to stop people from getting access to health care that they need and the decisions that they need to make about their own bodies and their lives and their futures. And so I think we should be very alarmed if the Supreme Court decides to side with Idaho, because they are signaling the fact that they're essentially willing to let women die.
Of course, the lawmakers supporting these measures say that they are trying to set policy that's consistent with the views of the voters in their communities. Do you see room for balance or compromise on this issue?
We know where the voters are, Linsey. We've seen it over and over again. Every time that abortion has been on the ballot, the reproductive freedom has won. And that is because state after state, the majority of Americans, 8 out of 10 Americans, believe that they should have the ability to make their own private medical decisions with their providers. They do not want politicians in the exam room. So they really aren't reflecting, in essence, what their constituents want. They are allowing the fact that they have gerrymandered themselves into power, and they can operate essentially as a tyranny of the minority. And that should also outrage Americans, because it just demonstrates how challenged our democracy is right now when you can have politicians making these laws that are so deeply unpopular and out of step with their constituents.
I also want to ask you about Arizona. As we reported, the State House there today voted to repeal an 1864 law that banned abortion. The Senate will take this issue up next week. But here we have a battleground state where some lawmakers seem to be dialing back their anti-abortion stance a bit. What's your take?
Again, they know it's unpopular, right? And they are going to try to take this issue. They're trying to really gaslight the American public and say that they really do support having access to reproductive freedom. And we know full well this is only because they are seeing the political consequences to these draconian decisions that they have made. And, it still has a hurdle, as we know, to go through the Senate. And we anticipate that these restrictions will still be in place as of June. And that, again, will continue to harm the people of Arizona. And Arizonans also have a ballot initiative on which they will be, expressing in a very direct democracy way their opinion on this. And I'm sure they're also worried about the impact of that initiative.
Alexis McGill Johnson, president of Planned Parenthood, our thanks to you.